Hello everyone and welcome to our series of podcasts from the Encon Group, focusing specifically on the area of passive fire protection and industry developments in the context of building safety. As a leading independent distributor of building materials, our business spans a number of specialist areas, of which passive fire protection is one of them. And when it comes to fire protection and building safety, we're in an evolving regulatory landscape, with new legislation firmly focused on improving building practices at every stage of the project cycle, ultimately to prevent tragedies of the past from reoccurring. For customers, it's therefore important as a specialist and experienced distributor that we can provide the knowledgeable support they need to meet their project specifications and requirements. So the next few episodes, we'll be talking to our trade body for ASFP on the very important area of the Building Safety Act. And within this, they'll be looking and talking about the golden thread, the three gateways, and upcoming developments in this new piece of legislation. We'll also be speaking to a few of our key supplier partners on the topic of passive fire protection solutions and practices, and specifically with them covering the areas of compliance, testing and product information. And last but not least, we'll also be talking to our very own specialist, Neville White, who's our Business Development Director for Passive Fire Protection. He's been with the business for some time, but also brings over 40 years industry experience. So Neville, we're talking to you as part of our series of podcasts that we are producing on the topic of passive fire protection, and in your role within the Encon Group as our Business Development Director of passive fire protection. And in this particular interview, it's really talking to you not only about the extensive experience you have in the industry, perhaps also how the industry has evolved over your time, but very much also focusing on our role as a distributor in today's industry landscape. So really just starting very much on your experience in the sector. You've been around for a long time.
I have.
How many years exactly?
Yeah. Well, it's actually 44 this year, believe it or not. I know. So
you didn't look old enough.
Oh,
you must have started when you were 5.
Yeah, I had good paper round. But no, I first started off many years ago at Cape Boards, and then the Hura manufacturer, and then moved into Promat when Promat purchased the Cape side of the business. Done many roles along the line, so from being in the office to being in marketing, out on the road. So yeah, I've moved in quite a few places within the group, and then therefore the last 4 years I've actually been within the distribution industry, which is quite chalk and cheese really compared to actually being a manufacturer.
Must have been quite a different mindset that you have to
It
adopt.
is a different mindset. You're moving from talking about specification to talking about being able to supply goods in the right format to customers, but also being able to give a degree of knowledge and understanding of the industry and potentially what the customers are trying to ask for. I think that's quite a big part of it, but yeah. And yeah, it has changed a lot over the years. I was going to say,
so going back a step before we get into the detail of our role as a distributor, but going back into over your time in the industry, what has changed? Or obviously lots have changed. But what are the significant things? How has the sector evolved over this time? What are the standout areas for you?
Yeah, I think without getting too morbid on some of these things, there's been some significant fires during the time I've been in the industry. What tends to happen is you have a fire and then the industry sits up and says, right, we need to do something about it. And then potentially not a lot actually does happen. So even if you go back to pre-Grenfell, when we had Lakanal House, there was a lot of change being discussed, but in reality, it didn't happen as quickly as we hoped it was going to happen. So I think regulation is probably stronger now than it's ever been. Yes, it has changed from architects and specifiers being in control of what products are actually used to a bit more of an open market when it became design and build. And it seems to be going back more towards the design of the specifier route because of the way that we see the changes happening through the various acts coming on. So with the Building Safety Act actually coming in, obviously that does relate to high-rise buildings specifically, but I do believe as time moves on, we will see that being attributed to other types of buildings that are actually being built in this country.
I agree. I think the new act will evolve over time and continue to evolve. Ultimately, it's there to make sure that building safety stays front and top and front of mind at every point of the supply chain.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because I think what's happened in the past when we've had a major incident, we've never got to the point where we are today, looking at the gateway process and the golden thread coming in. So I think that's a significant step forward from perhaps where we've been in recent years.
And as part of this series, we're actually going to be talking to the SFP, who's going to give us some more detailed insight into the Building Safety Act, not just what it is. I think a lot of us now know what it's about and where it's heading, but actually some of those significant areas that perhaps also upcoming, what to expect, what's around the corner with regards to the Act. So it'd be interesting to speak to them when we get to that.
I'm looking forward to doing those with Niall. Actually, it should be something good, because he's obviously got a wide knowledge of the industry and the regulations. So I think that will be a good few podcasts when they come around.
So then moving on more specifically to our role as a distributor, obviously Encon Group is a very established, long-standing distributor in the industry. And I see our role as a very valuable one within the supply chain in what we bring, particularly in today's changing landscape. Distributors generally are an important conduit in that supply chain. From a practical level, we're there to break bulk, we're there to service project needs, make sure product gets where it needs to be in the right volumes at the right time, and so on. But in reality, I feel we also do a lot more to support our customers beyond that product supply. And in previous discussions, you've actually summarised this very well across 3 core areas: the product supply, which I've just touched on, project solutions, total project solutions, the importance of that, and also the important area of knowledge and guidance. And maybe in this particular interview, you can look to elaborate on those 3 areas specifically.
Okay, I think that's exactly right. That's what we've talked about before. So I think the important part here is for us to be able to supply the whole offer to our contractors. So when they come on asking for a specific board product, for example, then we're in a position to be able to say, yes, we have that product. Do you realise you need to fix it with this? You may require this type of insulation to go with it as well. And therefore, what you're actually doing is supplying the whole package to the customer, rather than just one specific element that he's actually or she's actually asking for. And I think that's an important part of what we do, because there's no point in actually delivering a board to a site when you've got nothing to fix it to or nothing to fix it with. So yes. I think it makes complete common sense that you're able to do that. That's not how often it comes when somebody comes and asks one of our members of staff for a product. Quite often it is just an individual product they're after, rather than the complete solution.
And precisely, because I'm assuming it can happen both ways, where the customer turns up and they are very clear on that one product they need because they've got every other aspect sorted. But there could be situations where perhaps they hadn't thought about all the different other elements that would come for that particular installation. Am I right in that understanding?
Yeah, that feeds into the knowledge and guidance side of what we're talking about here. Yes, that happens quite a lot. As a distributor, we are there to supply product to a customer at the end of the day, and as I've already said, it's breaking the bulk and supplying a complete solution. I would suggest that 90% of the time a customer knows what they want, but there may be 10% of the time when they don't. And that's when it is quite important for us as a business to have knowledge so that we can provide that knowledge to the customer, to give them an idea of some of the solutions that they can come up with to meet their particular requirement. And
I suppose at this point, when it comes to that, and yes, we're now moving into that last point that you highlight on that knowledge and guidance piece, and that comes not just from our own specialist teams. Obviously we have our fire protection dedicated centres, we have our specialist teams within that you might want to elaborate on as well, and then we have our strong relationships with our key suppliers who are fundamental in this process of supporting our customers with that knowledge and guidance. So just covering a little bit more on those areas.
So when I got involved and joined Encon, one of the key things we wanted to introduce was a number of centres around the country, so that we had a range of products, one thing, but secondly, we had some knowledge within each of those branches. So when people phoned up, they were able to ask a question and at least be able to be given some knowledge of what that product was or or be able to point them in the right direction of where they needed to go to get that particular knowledge. So, yes, so we've currently got 10 centres around the country, which are fire branches, but we've also got 22 branches, which is which they can get the product from as well. But within those main branches, we've got an individual person who specialises in fire protection. So, like I said, they can help wherever they possibly can. But if they don't, they know where to go and get the guidance. And that guidance is primarily asked for from myself. Might be asked from Chelsea Campbell, who's the fire protection specialist in the south, and we're just in the process of appointing somebody for the north as well. So I think we're in a good place to be able to help give some sort of comment, offer solutions, but offer advice on where they can go to get solutions.
Yeah. Offer the direction, basically.
But what we've got to be key here, and I think it's really important to point out here, as a distributor, we supply what we're actually asked for. It's not our decision. It's not our job to actually go and change a specification. I think 90% of the time, as I said, we get asked for a specific product. Of course, we get asked for, do you have an alternative? And if we're asked that particular question, we can provide some guidance in what that alternative may actually be, and then push them towards that manufacturer to say, right, you need to go and ask this manufacturer whether this will perform to the specification you've actually got. And I think that's a really important part of what distributor and the role that we have to play.
Absolutely. I mean, considering the vast range of products and manufactured products that we represent across our distribution, the knowledge is pivotal to actually understand not only what we have in stock, but what those solutions represent for the different projects, different types of projects, different sizes of projects. So it goes without saying that whether it's passive fire protection or any other specialist area, having a fundamental knowledge of our products in order to be able to guide our customers is pivotal. And also, though, having the avenues where if more support is required, we turn to our specialist teams or we turn to our supplier partners.
100%. That's exactly how it is. And I think it's really, really important that that's the role that we understand we play in the supply of passive fire protection products out into the marketplace. Yes, 100%.
So I think it's nice to have a summary because I think the top of mind points for distributors and what they do in the supply chain is you stock your product and you get it out and you get it to site, and yes, that is an important integral part of what we do, but there's a lot more complexity as well in between all of that, or a lot more things to be thinking about in between that. It's not just sort of take it over here and put it over there and off it goes.
Absolutely.
And that's the bit actually that makes us a very valuable partner in that supply
chain. I do think the role of the distributor is as you say, not just supplying product but actually breaking the bulk. It's ensuring that it's delivered on time. It's delivered on the correct vehicles. Of course, we haven't really touched on this. It's often about credit as well, in terms of the contractor who's actually buying, to make sure that we've got enough there to cover the material that they're actually after. It's ensuring that when we deliver it, that we're doing it, as I say, on the right delivery, on the right type of vehicle, but also that our drivers have knowledge of when they're dropping product off, that this product could be quite an expensive product and they need to treat it accordingly. So I think there's a number of aspects that the distributor has to play across all of that area, from when the first inquiry comes in to when you actually deliver it onto site at the end of the day. So it's a lot of things to take into consideration.
Absolutely. And ultimately, out of all of this, it's understanding that distributors, and we as a leading distributor in the sector, are an integral part of the supply chain. But ultimately, whether you are a manufacturer, distributor, merchant, right through to contracts installers, we all have a duty of care to ensure that the products that ultimately end into the buildings are as specified, installed correctly, and making sure that our buildings remain as safe as possible.
Absolutely. We do need our contractors and our supplier partners to help us here as well. It's actually ensuring that from a contractor perspective, you're giving as much information on the project as you possibly can, perhaps advising us when materials are going to be required so we can make sure we get those in, availability of those, so supply in time when you actually need them. And from a manufacturer's perspective, we do need to realise the role that they have to play. They've got to keep us informed of the new products that are coming around, perhaps the change in specifications that they're providing, or any information related to a product or a service offering that they offer, that we're informed about it, so that we can actually inform our branches and therefore inform the industry of what's actually going on relating to something. So that's very important as well. We need both the contractors and the distributors to help us and keep us informed as well.
Absolutely. It's that crossway of information and relationships throughout the supply chain that obviously ensures that we all meet the evolving regulatory landscape that's around us, and there is a lot going around us that we all need to be aware of, engage with, and make sure we all play our part in making sure that the buildings that we serve in whatever capacity that is meet the safety and regulatory requirements of today.
100%.
Well, thank you, Neville, for giving us some insights into the role of and our role specifically as a distributor in the supply chain, and looking forward to some of the other podcasts that we're producing as part of this series.
Thank you.